The ignorant man justifies himself in every word. The wise man questions himself in every word. Ibn Arabi. There is a silence that follows true wisdom, a silence that does not come from the absence of words, but from the awareness of their weight. Ibn Arabi once said these words not as judgment, but as mercy. He knew that the human heart is a mirror. When clouded by ego, it reflects only itself, and when polished by humility, it reflects the divine. Every time we speak, we either build a wall between ourselves and truth, or we remove one. My friend, this is what Ibn Arabi was pointing to. The ignorant man speaks not to understand, but to defend. His words are shields, not doors. Every sentence becomes a small fortress around the self. I am right, I am pure, I know. And yet, in those very declarations, the self becomes more distant from truth. But the wise man, the wise man, trembles before his own words. He knows that every word may either serve God or serve the ego. So before he speaks, he looks within, asking, who is speaking through me right now, love or pride? This is the path of the Sufi, to turn every breath into remembrance, every word into reflection. Speech becomes a mirror, not a weapon, and silence becomes prayer. Ibn Arabi's life was full of dialogue, not only with others, but with the unseen. He often spoke of two kinds of knowing, the knowing of the tongue and the knowing of the heart. The tongue can recite thousands of words, but the heart, if awakened, can utter a single truth that transforms the world. When a person justifies themselves constantly, it means they are afraid of being seen. The ego trembles before exposure, for it knows its own fragility. But the one who questions himself in every word has already died to that fear. He has surrendered to a deeper voice, the voice of the beloved whispering within. Let me tell you a story. Once a disciple came to a great Sufi master and said, "My teacher, I have been wronged by someone. I told him my truth, but he did not listen. He mocked me, and I defended myself. Was that wrong?" The master smiled gently and said, "Did you defend truth, or did you defend yourself?" The disciple paused, confused. The master continued, "If you defended truth, you would have felt peace. If you defended yourself, you would feel wounded. Which one do you feel?" The disciple wept. This is the subtle difference between ignorance and wisdom. Ignorance defends the self. Wisdom defends nothing, for truth needs no defense. Ibn Arabi saw ignorance not as evil, but as the first veil we must see through. To justify ourselves in every word is to hide behind the illusion that we are separate, separate from others, separate from God, separate from the mirror of our own heart. Yet every time we admit, "Maybe I am wrong," a crack opens in that wall, and through that crack, light enters. That light is not humiliation, it is grace. Rumi echoed this when he said, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." Cleverness is mere opinion. Bewilderment is vision. The ignorant man is clever, full of arguments and certainty. The wise man is bewildered, for he has seen too much of the infinite to ever claim full knowing. He speaks softly, for he knows that the truth does not belong to him, he belongs to it. Every argument is a mirror showing what we truly worship. Some worship being right, others worship being kind. The Sufi worships nothing but love itself, for love dissolves both right and wrong in its fire. Ibn Arabi knew this. When he spoke of the perfect man, Insan al-Kamil, he spoke of the one who has dissolved in awareness, who no longer justifies or accuses, but simply is. Friend, when you justify yourself, you lose yourself. But when you question yourself, you find God questioning through you. To be wise is not to have all answers. It is to live in constant inquiry. Not doubt, inquiry. Inquiry isolates you. Inquiry connects you. Inquiry is the prayer of the heart that says, "Show me who I am, so that I may see you." In modern times, we live surrounded by noise, social media arguments, endless opinions, the worship of being right. Everyone justifies, few listen. Everyone shouts, few reflect. Yet the Sufi way whispers in the heart, "Be still, let the words settle like dust. The truth will rise quietly once the storm passes." Hassan al-Basri once said, "The one who knows himself knows his Lord." But self-knowledge is not self-approval, it is self-examination. To know yourself is to hold a candle into your own darkness. The ignorant one denies his shadows. The wise one befriends them. He listens to the voice of his anger, his pride, his jealousy, not to obey them, but to understand what wound they come from. Each wound becomes a teacher, each weakness a door to God. Once you begin to live like this, you realize something profound. Every moment of discomfort is a divine classroom. Every confrontation, every insult, every misunderstanding is a mirror asking, will you justify yourself or will you look within? When Rabia al-Adawiyya was insulted, she would smile and say, "They have not yet seen me. If they saw the truth of what I am, they would insult me even more." That is not weakness, it is the power of self-knowledge. When you know who you are in God, no word can wound you, no praise can inflate you. You become like the ocean, calm, deep, and silent beneath the waves. My friend, this path is not about being perfect. It is about being honest. The ignorant man fears his flaws because he believes they define him. The wise man examines them because he knows they reveal God's artistry. To question yourself is to polish the mirror. Each scratch, each imperfection becomes a point of reflection. This is why Yunus Emre said, "The one who knows himself is the one who has found his Lord." But self-questioning is not self-hatred. It is love in its purest form, a love so sincere that it wants nothing false to remain between you and the beloved. Every time you question your motives, every time you pause before speaking, every time you ask, "Is this coming from love or from fear?" you are walking toward God, slowly, humbly, beautifully. There is a hidden sweetness in this practice. When you stop justifying yourself, life becomes simpler. You are no longer at war with others. You stop needing to be right, and you start needing to be real. That's when peace enters. You begin to listen more, speak less, and see deeper. Silence becomes golden not because words are bad, but because silence allows truth to breathe.
There's an old Sufi saying, "The tongue is a lion. If you let it loose, it will wound someone. But if you tame it through awareness, it becomes a gentle messenger of love." Ibn Arabi knew that the true battle of the seeker is not with others, but with the self that hides behind words. Sometimes I think of how he must have looked at the world, with eyes that saw through layers of illusion, through the arguments and titles and pride. He once said, "He who knows the realities of things never disputes with anyone." What a beautiful state, to live in such understanding that every word becomes a whisper of peace. My friend, this is your invitation tonight. As you listen, feel the echo of these words in your own heart. Ask yourself, when I speak, do I seek to be understood or to understand? Do I speak to prove or to connect? This is the first step of awakening, noticing the movement of the ego before it shapes your words. When you begin to watch yourself in this way, something miraculous happens. You become both the speaker and the listener. You witness yourself from the outside. This awareness is the birth of humility, and humility is the soil where divine wisdom grows. The ignorant man's speech builds walls. The wise man's silence opens gates. Which will you choose, my friend, the gate or the wall? When a person begins to see that every word carries weight, speech itself becomes a sacred act. You realize that words are not just sounds, they are seeds. Some fall on the soil of ego and grow into thorns. Others fall on the soil of humility and blossom into gardens. The ignorant man throws seeds without care and wonders why weeds grow in his heart. The wise man plants each word as a prayer, watering it with silence and patience, trusting that only what is real will bloom. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever believes in God and the last day, let him speak what is good or remain silent." These words are not simply moral instruction, they are mystical guidance. To speak good is to align your voice with divine intention. To remain silent is to guard your heart from the noise of self-importance. In both, there is worship. Ibn Arabi understood that justification, that urge to prove, to defend, is the veil of the ego trying to survive. Every time we justify ourselves, we make ourselves the center. But when we question ourselves, we make truth the center. And where truth stands, the self bows. There is a story told of Abd al-Qadir al-Jilani. Once, one of his disciples came to him, saying, "Master, people have spoken ill of you in the town. Will you not defend yourself?" The great saint smiled and replied, "If I am innocent, God knows. If I am guilty, then their words are true. Either way, what need have I to defend myself?" The disciple was silent. In that moment, he realized that true dignity lies not in reputation, but in surrender. The ignorant man fights for his image. The wise man lives in the light of what is unseen. You see, my friend, when you no longer rush to justify yourself, you give life space to speak on your behalf. Life itself begins to defend you because you have aligned with truth. Ibn Arabi's insight was not a condemnation of the ignorant. It was a reminder that ignorance is not lack of knowledge, but lack of awareness. Awareness turns every word into an opportunity to purify the soul. There was a time when I struggled with this myself. I would hear criticism, and immediately the fire would rise, the need to explain, to clarify, to show I meant well. And yet, every time I justified, I felt further from peace. Then I remembered the words of Shams of Tabriz, "What comes from love goes to love. What comes from ego returns as pain." So I began to practice listening, not to the world, but to the echo inside me. Each time I felt the need to defend myself, I would pause and ask, who is speaking right now? My soul or my fear? Most times, it was fear. That's when I learned silence is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. The wise do not silence themselves because they are timid, they do so because they have seen that truth does not need noise. Like light, it travels without effort. Ibn Arabi saw the tongue as an extension of the heart.
He believed that words carry the energy of the heart they come from. So if the heart is restless, the speech will scatter. If the heart is still, the speech will guide. My friend, in today's world, it is harder than ever to remain still. We live surrounded by performance, online, in conversation, even in prayer. Everyone must have a take, an opinion, a side. But the Sufi does not take sides. The Sufi takes truth, and truth is often silent, hidden in the quiet spaces between words. Let me tell you about Yunus Emre. One day he was challenged by scholars for his simple language. "Your poetry lacks sophistication," they told him. "You speak as if to children." Yunus smiled and said, "Yes, because my heart is a child before God." They laughed, but Yunus knew something they did not, that the simplest words, if spoken from love, pierce deeper than the cleverest arguments. The ignorant justify through complexity. The wise express through clarity.
Friend, you may wonder, how can I learn to question myself without falling into self-doubt or guilt? The answer lies in intention. When you question yourself out of fear, you create chains. When you question yourself out of love, you create wings. The goal is not to condemn yourself, but to understand what moves within you. The wise man is not obsessed with his faults. He is curious about them. He holds them in the light of compassion, saying, "This too is me, and even this can be transformed." This is why the Quran says, "And on the earth are signs for those who are certain, and in yourselves as well. Do you not see?" This is why the Quran says, "And on the earth are signs for those who are certain, and in yourselves as well. Do you not see?" To see yourself clearly is to see a reflection of divine artistry. The ignorant man says, "I am fine as I am." The wise man says, "Show me what I have not yet seen." Hassan Basri once said that a believer is like a mirror to another believer. When you look at others, you are looking at yourself. So when you see arrogance, do not rush to blame. Ask instead, is there a shadow of that within me? When you see kindness, say, that too lives in me. This is the essence of self-questioning. It is not self-centeredness, but self-awareness.
The ignorant live on the surface. The wise dive into the depths. And the deeper you go, the quieter it becomes. You begin to sense that there is a sacred presence beneath all your thoughts, something vast, patient, and luminous. That presence does not justify, it simply is. That is your true nature, the divine awareness witnessing all your words, all your justifications, all your silence. Ibn Arabi called it the reality of realities. He said that all things are expressions of one being, and that every word spoken in truth reveals a face of that reality. When you justify yourself, you speak from separation. When you question yourself, you return to unity. You begin to see that the one who speaks, the one who listens, and the one who understands are all the same. Modern life teaches us to market ourselves, to project confidence, to appear certain. But the path of the mystic invites you to unlearn certainty, to become simple again, to say, I don't know, but I wish to know through love. That is the essence of humility, not weakness,
but openness. Rumi once said, "If you are irritated by every rub, how will your mirror be polished?" The ignorant man blames the hand that rubs. The wise man thanks it. For every challenge, every misunderstanding, every word that triggers you, they are polishing your heart, preparing you to reflect divine light more purely. When you justify yourself, you halt that polishing. When you question yourself, you allow the process to complete. And so, my dear friend, the next time you feel misunderstood, pause. Take a breath. Ask gently, is this a moment to explain or a moment to listen? Maybe God is speaking to you through the misunderstanding. Maybe the silence you keep will say more than any defense could. You see, the Sufi learns to live in the space between words. That's where revelation comes. Ibn Arabi often said that God is revealed not in speech, but in the pause between breaths, that sacred stillness where the self dissolves. When you stop justifying, you step into that stillness. You begin to feel a presence moving through you, speaking for you, loving through you. That is the state of the truly wise. When you live this way, even your mistakes become teachers. You no longer hide from them, you thank them. You begin to see that ignorance itself is part of the journey. It is the soil where wisdom grows. Every ignorant moment, once illuminated, becomes sacred. There is no failure, only unveiling. This is the mystery of divine love. It does not condemn the ignorant, it transforms them. The same heart that once justified itself in every word becomes, through grace, a vessel of truth. The same tongue that once defended pride begins to sing praises. God never wastes a single word, not even the mistaken ones. My friend, if these words reach you today, perhaps they are a reminder that your journey is already holy. The moments when you catch yourself defending, arguing, justifying, they are not signs of failure. They are invitations to wake up, to return, to remember who you are.
So tonight, I invite you, watch your words. Let them become mirrors. Speak less from I and more from love. And when you do speak, let it be soft, sincere, born from awareness. You will find that the world listens differently. Even your silence will begin to teach. The ignorant man justifies himself in every word. The wise man questions himself in every word. To live this truth is to walk the bridge between the outer world and the inner. On one side is noise, on the other, stillness. Step by step, through humility and remembrance, you cross from one to the other. And when you arrive, when your heart becomes quiet enough, you will hear what Ibn Arabi heard, the voice of the beloved whispering through every sound, every word, every silence. Then justification disappears because there is nothing left to defend. There is only love speaking through all things. If this message resonates with you, if it brings peace to your heart, then remember, this path is not meant to be walked alone. We walk together, hand in hand, soul beside soul, toward the same light. If this journey speaks to you, subscribe to the channel, because in truth, you are not alone on this path. Each step you take, countless hearts take with you. And before you go, leave a comment below. Tell me what this teaching means to you. Tell me how you hear Ibn Arabi's words in your own heart. Let this be a space where we meet not through opinions, but through love. May your words become gentle, your silence deep, and your heart clear as light. May you find peace not in being right, but in being real. Until we meet again, stay in remembrance, stay in love, and stay awake.